Welcome to Always Ageless, the show that celebrates living life to its fullest at any age. Stay tuned because today we're going to introduce you to someone whose life mission it is to empower, educate, and advocate for seniors all over the nation. This morning, let's talk about how to stick up for yourself and make sure that you're defended. Do you ever feel a little frustrated with issues that are important to you, but you feel like you're just one little person? You wish someone would stand up for you and fight your battles? You know, those days when you have no control over things and you can't find a way for your voice to be heard. Well, we get it. Our guest today is going to give you hope. He literally has fought our battles and still is. Welcome, Mark Gibbons, President and CEO for RetireSafe. He's here to share what he does every day to raise the platform and raise awareness for seniors across the nation. His story will leave you believing someone is fighting for you. Mark, welcome. You have an incredibly diverse and accomplished background. Would you start by sharing how your experiences as a U.S. Army commander during Desert Storm and Operation Provide Comfort have shaped your approach to leadership and advocacy today?
Sure. Thank you again for having me here, Valerie. When I first heard about your show through one of my interns, I said, well, sounds like a great program, so I'm glad to be here. So the military days that I had as a commander of a couple of units in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and also Operation Provide Comfort allowed me to realize that there is more to life than just me. It's about protecting others, standing up for others who may not have a voice, and trying to allow people to live their full potential. Sometimes it's with assistance, sometimes I just need a little guidance. And that has shaped my career since then. I have, once I got out of the military, one of the other jobs I've done is I was a chief of staff for the mayor of Augusta, Georgia. And that allowed me to help people. A lot of citizens would call, the mayor's office complaints. And when they call the mayor directly, he cannot do a lot of things. Everything is politicized. But if they can call me, then I can work behind the backgrounds, talk to the other department heads, and make things actually happen, effect change. And so that helped me. And then I worked for a congressman. And in the district, Congressman Charlie Norwood, who's no longer with us. But again, my whole life after the military has been of service, trying to help people. And that's how I landed with the RetireSafe. A lot of people think the name RetireSafe makes you think that we're a financial organization or a bunch of lawyers, and we're really not. We are advocates for seniors. We advocate on behalf of America's seniors, trying to get them the life that they work so hard for and that they deserve, to make sure that people on Capitol Hill are not taking that away from you.
That certainly must be a big challenge.
Yes, ma'am, it is. You never know what's going to happen on the Hill. Well, like you can tell now, we're in some trying times right now. If you think about the past couple of years, we've had a House of representative expelled from Congress. We had a senator who was just charged with felons and is now going to resign from Congress. We've had a president who withdrew from an election, although he was incumbent. Now he's passed the torch on. These are some crazy times we have. Then we have conflicts and wars, Israel, we have Ukraine, so many things going on. We have issues with the border, people coming over. I mean, it's nonstop. But what we don't always remember, and we should, is we have issues here in the United States that we need to take care of. And we have veterans, and we have seniors. And a lot of seniors are experiencing, they're still trying to come back from the pandemic. The pandemic hit seniors really hard, not only physically, but mentally. I know that my aunt, she was in a senior facility, locked in the senior facility for almost 18 months. The only way that we could visit her is stand outside her window. She was on the 6th floor, and communicate with her that way. You know how many seniors have developed like mental health issues, or they picked up alcoholism or drug abuse because they weren't getting monitored properly. I mean, the stress of the pandemic. So now we're standing up for the seniors and encouraging them to get out there, live that best life, take on a second adventure in your life. Well, you may have been a banker or something in your past life. Now, if you want to be a dancer, go and dance. You want to be an artist, go and paint. Do whatever you want to go do. Express yourself, live that life that you work so hard for.
So understanding, and I'm going to try during our short time together to talk about a lot of the different areas that RetireSafe is involved in. So let's start by talking about medicine.
Okay.
Because I think everyone can relate to that, although I think we can all relate to everything that you do, but understanding and accessing cutting edge medicines and vaccines is vital for senior health. But how does RetireSafe help seniors stay informed about the latest advancements in medical treatments and ensure they have access to these innovations? Now, I've heard you talk a lot about IRA and a 340B drug pricing program.
Yes.
I know those impact all of us, and I'll include myself in the seniors age. That's why I say us. I know those impact all of us, but can you break that down a little bit for those of us who are not in politics and not in healthcare every single day? Explain it in everyday language. What's the impact of this on all of us?
Sure. So let me start with the IRA first, the Inflation Reduction Act that was signed by President Biden just a couple of years ago. So there's a lot of different factors and laws, but this one, there's three great things that came out of it. One is there is a cap on actual, when you have diabetes and you are on insulin, it's a $35 cap now. That's a win for seniors. There's also going to be, that takes effect 2025, is an out-of-pocket cap for Part D drugs of $2,000. Unfortunately, Valerie, as we get older, seniors tend to acquire a lot more medications on a daily regimen. I know that my father is on like 14 different medications a day. And some of these costs are through the roof. Well, with this out-of-pocket cap, even though he has insurance and he has an Advantage plan, the most that he will pay for all of his meds in a given year will be $2,000. That's a huge savings. Before, it could have just gone through the roof. It doesn't matter if your drug is for cancer or Alzheimer's, whatever it may be, a specialty drug. Once you hit that cap, that's out. You're done putting in money. But what they've also done, though, Valerie, is a lot of seniors, unfortunately, don't have that wonderful nest egg. They don't have that great pension plan or retirement savings that some of us are lucky to have. So some seniors, or most seniors, unfortunately, in the United States, are living paycheck to paycheck off of what Social Security gives them. So what is going to help you with trying to get to that cap of $2,000, the IRA has instituted something called smoothing. And what smoothing is allows you to spread that payment of $2,000 over 12 months. So you don't have to do it all in January. You can spread it out over 12 months and just make payments, and then you're covered for the year in regards to hitting your cap. So but the only glitch with that, and there's always something in the laws. The only thing with this is you have to enroll. And if you don't know about it, you're not going to enroll and try to help save that money. The government just now released guidance 2 weeks ago that's directing the insurers on how to make sure that their consumers know about the smoothing. Now, I haven't seen the exact words that they want them to use, but they have to put a full court press here so they can start advertising and let people know that this is something that you can opt into to help save you money. In regards to 340B, well, how does that affect us as seniors or anybody? A 340B hospital is usually a hospital that's in the rural areas. There's so many seniors in the rural areas, Valerie. But a 340B hospital, a 340B designation for a hospital allows them to get medications at a extreme discounted rate, and then pass that savings on to the patient, whether it's free or minimal amount of money to pay for the drugs. The problem, though, right now is it's a great program and had great intent, but what's supposed to have happened with that savings, that money is supposed to go back into the hospital and supposed to help charity care for people who cannot afford it, seniors or anybody, but that's not the case right now. Hospital profits have gone through the roof, but the charity care level has gone down. So we're urging Congress, we, organizations like myself, are on the Hill at least once, twice, 3 times a week, talking to different legislators, go, hey, the intent for this program is good, but we need some type of follow-up. We need some type of regulatory control here to make sure that we are putting those profits back into the communities to help people with the charity care that they need, which usually is seniors.
And is it that do they like how do you know that that's going to go to the seniors versus?
Well, we don't know it's going to go to the seniors, but we know that it's going to go to people that need it. And right now it's not. The good thing about this, Valerie, is that, there's some issues when you address it on the Hill, they are picked up by one side of the aisle. One side will like it, one side will not.
No kidding.
On the 340B issue, I know, it's shocking. But what's interesting is on the 340B issue, both sides know that there's a problem. So they're at least they're talking about it. Now, does that mean anything? Valerie, you and I don't know, we may grow old and nothing will be solved, but at least they're talking about it. Same thing with let's say Social Security and Medicare. Both sides of the aisle know, because we keep screaming that sky's falling, that we're running out of money in these programs. At least they know that there is a problem. Now, are they ever going to agree on how to fix it? I don't know.
What I find interesting in this and so many discussions I have with my guests is that, and advocates through National Aging in Place Council and other places, that we're all talking to people who are older, right?
Yes.
And they should get it, right? So many, certainly not all of the people on the Hill are under 50 or under 60, but there are a lot of them who are. So these are people, it's affecting their age group also. So it seems to me they should get it, especially a little bit more than others.
And Valerie, you would think that. However, remember, once you're elected to office, you're covered in a whole different realm. You have special life insurance for the rest of your life. You have special Medicare, medical care for your life. You get a solid paycheck for the rest of your life. So although it affects people in their age bracket and their members of their district, it doesn't affect them. So we have to figure out how we can make it personal for them. How do we, say, well, this may be good for you, but what about your sister? What about your brother? What about your parents? How is this going to affect them in the long run? So how do we, so we have to make it personal, just like in anything that's dealing with family caregiving. Well, now that has been a huge shift changer up on the Hill, because more and more of the members of Congress are now family caregivers. So now they're realizing, oh, a family caregiver really does put out of pocket $8,000 to $15,000 out of pocket without any reimbursement. How do we give them some credit? So unless it's personal, it's there on the table, but it doesn't mean as much to them. They aren't as motivated to fix some of these problems.
Right, but so let me ask a question. Do you think because we know that 11,000 people a day turn 65, right? Mm-hmm. So, and this is a little bit newer. So do you think that senior issues are becoming more prevalent, or do you think they just always were? Do you think they're getting more attention?
I really and truly think that they are getting more attention. And I think that's a good thing, because some of these members of Congress who are younger have aging parents. And so they realize the struggles that they keep hearing. They may go back, visit their mom, and their mom's friends all go, I know you're up there and doing great work, but what about us seniors? Yeah. We're struggling. And how can you help us? And we've noticed that over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years now, more and more Hill staffers are starting to contact our organization to maybe conduct surveys for them. And their member of Congress may have said, I was thinking about this, and this may be a good idea, but can we vet it? And we told them, we are a resource. We'll be glad to vet things for you. We've been very fortunate. We have over 126,000 members across the country. We have members in every state. And there's two things that seniors have, Valerie, and you know this as well as I do. They have time and opinions. and they're willing to give both. So we
Absolutely.
can vet and do things
freely.
like that.
Yeah, freely. They give both.
Exactly. And they want to do it for free. And sometimes we get too much information, but that's okay.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's interesting. So tell me about another thing that, and I don't want to go off on this because I want to go back to it. So, but tell me also, I've read about telehealth. So what is telehealth? Does it really accomplish anything? And what kind of care can they get on a telehealth conversation, so to speak?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I'll give you a real life example that I'm dealing with. So my mom has really damaged lungs from childhood, real severe cases of pneumonia, scarred lungs. So during the pandemic and even now, the physician would prefer for her to stay at home and do the initial visits that we can do with her instead of coming into an environment where, pandemic's been lifted, more and more people are out without masks, and there's more chance for her. So that case, she's a lot more vulnerable. So for seniors that are immunocompromised or may have cancer or other conditions that it's really not good to go out in, this has been a godsend. Now, you can't do everything. You can't, do dialysis. You can't do some of these other things, but at least the initial visit and sometimes peace of mind for the senior. But they're also doing, when I say peace of mind now, they're also starting to do mental health treatments through telehealth, which is also very good. So telehealth has been a benefit. The only problem, though, Valerie, is that we have so many people in the rural areas, but not everybody even has broadband yet in the rural areas. So how do we address some of that? Plus, the other benefit of telehealth is that some of these seniors don't have a way to get to the physician's office because of transportation or whatever it may be, or distance, or maybe they have to ride 3 or 4 buses, even in the inner city. So telehealth has eased the burden of transportation and allowed more access to healthcare.
So is telehealth something that's paid for by the government? And how is it just within the whole program, or is it a separate entity somehow that's paid separately?
It is being covered under your Medicare and Medicaid. Now, the problem is that they were reimbursing the physicians at a higher rate during the pandemic, and now they're trying to scale that back. So some of the doctors saying, well, this isn't worth my time. I might as well bring the patient in. So we're on the Hill trying to go back to pandemic rates for the physicians, because when you do telehealth, you have to spend money on different technologies in your office. You have to worry about HIPAA security. You have to be out being breached. They're still spending money, these physicians, and are probably still losing money. But we need to make sure that they're at least reimbursed at a fair rate.
Sure. Let's go back to the item where there's a $2,000. Was it a $2,000 cap?
Out-of-pocket cap, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then who pays the rest of that? Medicare, the government
The
pays
the government, and also the insurer. The insurance company will pay, I think it's 60%, and the government picks up the remainder.
So and again, help me with my terminology, but I've heard you talk about the fact that, let's talk about drugs.
Okay.
All right. So I've heard you talk about the fact that as there's caps on drugs, and I don't remember the term that I heard you use, and I apologize for this, as there's caps on drugs, certain things, then new drugs aren't being brought out into the marketplace.
No,
is that correct?
So the argument is, and we are advocating on this, is IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, not only did 3 good things, the insulin at a reduced rate, the out-of-pocket cap and smoothing. To me, one of the bad things they did is they are allowing the government to help control drug pricing. So the government is going to select, right now they've already selected 10 drugs last year, and they're going to release the prices that they're going to reimburse or be able to sell that drug for in about 2 months. And then they're going to pick another 10 drugs. Well, that's where your question comes in about innovation. So some of these startup pharmaceutical companies, some of the other drugs are going to be discouraged to go and create new drugs, because there's a lot of money to do these tests, and all the different work and they have to do, and the people, the scientists they have to hire, and they're not going to get their money back. So because the government's going to say, well, we're only going to give you $125 per pill, and you're saying, but it cost us $1,800. And so why would I even want to invest in trying to create a cure for Alzheimer's? Why would I want to try to create a cure for cancer if I'm not going to make money and you're going to stifle innovation? Our country is probably the greatest in medicine innovation. I mean, look how well we did with creating the vaccine for COVID.
Sure.
But you know what I noticed though, during COVID, we were able to streamline that process to get it approved, even with trials and everything else, so fast. The normal process takes years. So maybe one thing that we should have learned or gotten out of the whole pandemic is that we can streamline this a little bit faster. But everyone needs to get paid, Valerie. Everyone needs to touch it so they can get paid. So let's cut out a lot of these middlemen.
But so one of the complaints that we all hear is, okay, so they're charging $1,800 for a capsule. There's no way that's $1,800. Those drug companies are just trying to make a lot of money. I mean, is that really true? And the other thing is, I can't even imagine living in a place where we say, okay, well, I'm going to stifle my own creativity or innovation because they don't want us to innovate anymore. That's just not how we live. That's not our country.
No, that's not how our country is. Our country has always been been based on a free market. But now the government's trying to get more involved and dictate prices, and that's not allowing a free market system that we've always had here in the country. So that's where the argument is. I mean, maybe by controlling these drug prices by the government, maybe it is going to lower the drug prices. I haven't seen proof yet. No one has. So we're going to see what happens when the prices for these first 10 drugs come out, see what kind of savings it's going to generate. If you listen to OMB in the government, they have this magic pencil that says it's going to, an eraser that says it's going to save $10 billion over 5 years. Well, how in the hell did they come up with that number? I mean, it's like and we don't have any facts. So and the government also, the current administration wants to give the government even more regulation and allow them to double, instead of picking 10 more drugs this in October, pick 20. Well, show me first that the first model works. And if the model works and it saves us money, select them all. But if it doesn't, then we're out, because we've already given them permission to do that. So show me a working model first, prove that it saves money, and then I'll be the first to jump up and down and support it and say, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But show me that it works first.
Sure. So we know we could have a few hours conversation on this subject, but I want to hear more about you and RetireSafe. So let's move on. Let's talk about how I see you talk about saving Social Security and saving Medicare. So what are the biggest challenges right now, other than, of course, we're all getting older and it's costing the government more money, but what are the biggest challenges, and how can RetireSafe advocate and make a difference?
Right. So what I've noticed is that over the last time that we increased how much money is taken out of our checks to help save Social Security and Medicare was, I think, the Reagan administration. And we haven't done anything else since then to increase the amount of money coming in. However, each administration, doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat, creates new programs, and they have to find a funding source. So where do they take the money from? Medicare, Social Security, and also infrastructure. And so they take the money from those pools, but they don't ever put the money back. So as I've suggested to the members of Congress, and they understand this, is, we're all about creating new programs to help people. I have no problem with that. But when you create a new program, create an independent new funding stream for it. Don't keep, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Because now poor Paul, which is millions of us, seniors now, don't have any money. And what about the people that are in their 30s and 40s who are hoping that when they retire, there'll be money there? Sure. I got news for you. It ain't going to be there. So when we go on the Hill, we just say, look, no one likes to use the word taxes. No one likes to say, but as an employee, I have no problems giving another % or whatever out of my check to go towards my Social Security or my Medicare. To me, it's an investment to make sure that I have those things when I get older. One time I heard a congressman, and I think he was from Louisiana, he said, why don't we just create a national lottery? And that money goes into Social Security and Medicare to put money back. A lot of the states do it for educational programs like South Carolina and Texas, and that's how they pay for college students' education. And people play the lottery. I said, well, if you can figure some way to do it, but without government, screwing it up by oversight, maybe it's a great idea. But at least somebody's thinking. Will it ever take off? No. And that's probably not the best solution, but we have to figure out how do we generate some fresh money to replenish some of this this money. Also you can clean it up in Medicare and Social Security. I was talking to a staffer maybe in January, and he was telling my policy assistant and I that his grandmother had passed away 8 months ago, and they're still receiving Social Security checks, even though they keep telling them she has passed away, and they keep returning them. But Valerie, how many people are not returning those Social Security checks? How many people are cashing them? Let's clean up our systems and help, do some auditing in that and Medicare, and maybe we can save some of the money. We're not going to fix the problem, but at least maybe we can draw out the life of the programs a little bit longer.
Sure, absolutely. Because I have a real estate background, I have to ask about housing. So the ability for seniors to remain in their homes has become a really big issue. We know that there's more senior living communities, there's more memory care communities, there's more assisted living, all kinds of communities for people to move into, and that's a great business. But we know that the majority of seniors want to stay in their home. And we often hear the phrase, I'm going to stay here until you carry me out in a pine box. And for some of them, that's what happens. My mom is 104, Mark. She still lives by herself in her own home, takes care of herself, and that's where she wants to stay, but she functions, so it works out great for her. So what are you doing? What is RetireSafe doing to help people who want to age in place in their homes?
So what we are trying to do is we've applied for grants. We haven't had any luck yet, Valerie. So if you know somebody that has money, tell them to call me. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some money so we can go and help educate people and work with people like a Granger or a Lowe's or a Home Depot, and have them do seminars or take on community projects to help senior-proof homes so people can age in place and stay at home. Because like you said, like my mom is only in her 80s, but that's where she wants to die, is in her home. She said, I'm not going to a facility. As long as her health is good, then that's where I want her to stay.
Sure.
But sometimes, when you first have that little infant and you have to child-proof your home, well, as we get older, we have to senior-proof our home.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have a long hallway, and you're going to have to put more lighting in there. You have to take up that hallway runner. You need to put rails in the bathroom. maybe put a camera in the kitchen pointed towards the stove, so you can call mom and go, Mom, I think you left the burner on. I mean, how do we do things to allow them to? So we're trying to create more of an educational program, but also work with partners that they'll go in and maybe help do a couple of homes in every small little town to help, senior proof some homes, whether it's for a veteran or whoever, or maybe it is, the lady at the church that's been the grandmother to like over 800 kids, at the church all her life. Something along those lines, but and we're talking to the legislators, and President Biden, I want to say maybe his second year, brought up the topic about aging in place, but not a whole lot was done after that. But at least it's on people's radar that we do need to. I mean, these people worked hard for your homes. I mean, you worked hard all your life. You want to be able to stay in the home that you purchased and you built, and your kids were raised in, your grandkids are being raised in, and how do you help them do that? And so it's about helping people, help educate them so they know what's going on.
But Mark, what about tax credits? I hear this floated often with the people I talk to in my community as well as my guests. What about tax credits for improvements in the home that are for aging in place, or for seniors to be able to be more comfortable or safer? I never thought about the camera in the kitchen watching the stove, but yeah, why not?
No, and that's something that's come up. And so I know one idea that came up, and I don't know if it's going to have any growing legs or not, is some of these seniors on their property tax are still paying, and some of their money is still going to the schools. Well, why not give that money back to them so they can do the home modification, give them the tax credits that you're talking about? When you hit a certain age, then maybe you can have that money give you as a tax credit so you can do the home modifications that you need, or that you can help save. Again, I don't know if that's going to grow legs or not, but tax credits have been talked about. But then people are going, well, that case we're going to lose money. So it's all about the bottom line. So that's a great idea, and I hope we can figure it out. But what are we going to give up to give the seniors that? I hope they figure it out, because the same thing with veterans as well. We need a lot more tax credits for the seniors. Again, we've worked so hard all our lives. When are we going to reap some benefits back to us?
Absolutely. Well, you've got my vote on that. And let's also then, you mentioned veterans. Veterans, how can you not give benefits to veterans? How can you not advocate for veterans? You, of all people, know those guys are over there literally fighting for our country, fighting for me personally. Every day someone's out doing that. Why do we even have a discussion about veterans benefits? What is it that they're asking for too much? What should they have? What are you advocating for that they don't have or that they need to have more of?
Well, what RetireSafe is advocating on, this may catch you a little bit off guard, is we're advocating for more women veterans rights. When you talk to a physician, just their own physician, you go in there and talk about, veterans, the first thing that pops into their mind is the veteran must be a male. You know how many female veterans we have in this country?
I guess I don't know exactly.
But there are a lot of female veterans. And when you get into the VA system, there's not a lot of physicians that are specialized in women healthcare. So we need to make sure that that's more accessible. Yeah, they're still going to get the care, Valerie, don't get me wrong, but they're going to outsource them, and they're going to have to wait even longer to get in line to service to go to an outside hospital. So we are trying to make it that it's equal care for both men and women. All you ever hear about is men's prostate cancer, and the VA is leading that charge. But what are they doing for women's breast cancer? What are we doing for things like that? So RetireSafe is advocating on behalf of the women's veterans to try to get equal care, and also to expand the list of drugs that are on the that the VA covers. VA's list of drugs is not as big as the Medicare's Part D or C list of drugs that are approved drugs that the government will pay for, or at least give a great rate for. the list in the VA is considerably smaller. Great prices for the veterans. Usually they get the medications free, but it's a smaller list. And so if I have a certain cancer, I'm going to have to apply for an exception so I can get that drug there at the VA and not have to go out to a CVS. And I shouldn't have to do that. So
when someone wants to apply for VA benefits, do they have to go to the VA office where they are? Can they do it online?
They can do it online, but I think doing this for my own family and and my wife is a veteran and she's retired reserves. Even just to fill out the paperwork to get her benefit has been confusing as hell. It's like trying to pick the correct Medicare plan, A, B, C, or D, or E, or whatever.
Right.
And so you do want to go into the office, but if you can find a support group like at the VFW or American Legion, they have offices or people set up in those organizations that can help you go online and fill out the paperwork correctly to help save you time to get through that process. Because it is, it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole and never come back up without any benefits because you did something wrong or you thought they meant this, but they didn't mean that. And so it's always good to go straight to the VA if possible. The problem though, Valerie, is trying to get in, to get an appointment. I know a lot of veterans that even for healthcare, that go in and they've never seen the same physician twice because the turnover. You have to realize a lot of those physicians that are at the VA hospital are not government employees, they're contract employees. How many doctors do you know that want to be a GS-15 and only get $200,000 when they can be on the outside practice making 2 times that or 3 times that? So they contract with the doctors to bring them in.
It seems that this, just like you said with Medicare, it just seems very confusing. I think my mom would be entitled to some benefits because my dad was a veteran, and people talk about that spouses are entitled to some benefits. But how does a person find those? How can you make sense of it if she just looks online and sees
she
what's
can look
available?
Online, Valerie, but sometimes in every city and county, there is a organization called Area Agency on Aging. Sometimes they're called senior centers or something like that, but it's the Area Agency on Aging. And usually they have somebody that has expertise in Veterans Affairs, or somebody that, or at least they know who to point you to say, hey, look, my husband was a veteran. He received VA benefits, has got all his health care as his spouse. I know I'm eligible. How do I get that? And they can help you navigate through that system, because you're right, the spouse is entitled just like the veteran is. So, but it is, again, it's paperwork. It's not advertised because why would I do that? I have a great apple here and you get it for free, but I'm not going to tell you how to get it.
Right. Because then I would have to give it to you rather than and to buy another apple for the next person. Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. I understand. Well, we want to be sure that our listeners know that these things are available and not be discouraged, because there are companies like yours, groups like yours, I should say, that are fighting their battles. So what are some of the things that you're doing for VA, for veterans right now? Is it the benefits for women, or what are some of the things that you're working
It's
at?
the benefits for women. It's also in trying to make sure that we have access to more medications on the approved list for the VA, increase that size. And so those are 2 of the main things that we're really working on for the VA. Again, the formulary, as they call it, and that's the list of drugs that are approved by the government. The formulary for the VA is severely smaller, like I said, as opposed to what's approved for if you're on Medicare or Medicaid. And that's important because a lot of seniors, as you know, as we get older, unfortunately, our bodies start to break down and we acquire more and more conditions. And unfortunately, some of the conditions that we acquire as a senior is cancer. Or we start noticing signs of early onset Alzheimer's or dementia. or something else that may occur. So it's important that we continue to increase the amount of medications that the veterans have access to, make it the same across the board. What you get in Medicare, you get in the VA. I mean, these people that served signed a contract saying that they will defend the country without even hesitating. The least we can do for them is help take care of them.
Absolutely.
Same benefits. And that's all that we're advocating for. Whether you're a male or a female, we should be equal access for all.
One thing I noticed that you advocate for is voting. And it seemed to me like, why would you need to? Doesn't everybody get to vote? So tell me about that. Where does that, why is that an issue?
So what we make sure is that, right, well, the problem is that a lot of seniors, not a lot, but there's seniors that don't have access to go vote.
Oh.
They don't have any type of technology, so they know how to go and ask for a request an online ballot, not an online, an electronic ballot, or a ballot by mail. It's just making sure that they can get to the voting, to the polls. That's what we're more concerned about. Is not they can't, they don't have access. It's just like same thing like going to medical appointments. Sometimes if I'm, let's say, God forbid I'm not, but I'm living by myself. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. I'm kind of just by myself. People know about me in the building or the neighborhood, but no one ever comes and checks on me. No one ever says, "Hey, let's go look at Mark and see if he needs groceries, or maybe he wants to go vote, or maybe he just wants to go to the library." Not too many people do that.
No, but maybe
so how
there's
do we make
something.
sure that the seniors can vote?
Yeah, I just never thought about that.
Yeah.
Maybe an idea would be to do something like, the senior centers, for example, have these free buses, or the county's free buses to take them to medical. Maybe on voting day, we give everybody a free bus to go vote.
And there are probably some programs like that. I know that there's some things like the VFWs do that. Sometimes the American Legions will go do that. Just sign up for the ride and they'll take you to your polling station. But not everyone does that. I think we need to utilize our churches more, faith-based communities.
Oh, that's great.
It's a strong community, and seniors believe very strongly, and they go, and that's their second family.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's their first family.
That's true.
So if we can help inform the faith-based communities and use them more to spread information about vaccines or voting or aging in place, help educate the clergy there and the workers, the staff, to help educate them, because they may get a lot of questions that just don't have any answers. You can go up to your pastor or your priest and go, this is the issue I'm having. They just look at you like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So maybe we can help educate them so they can then in turn help their members.
Or just have resources,
Exactly.
have a directory of resources and those things. So certainly RetireSafe is big on education.
Yes,
so how can you, and we've just talked about lack of technology and so forth. So how can you, and what are you doing to improve your education to seniors on these issues?
Right. So what we're doing is we are reaching out to senior living facilities. We're reaching out to different churches, civic groups, and we tell them, look, every month we send out a monthly newsletter. So here it is, and please feel free to print copies and give it to your members that may not have may not have access to the internet. Sure. So those are some of the things that we do. Again, it's tough. A lot of it is word of mouth. So we try to go to as many senior expos that we possibly can based on budget. Because when you have a senior expo, there's a lot of seniors that show up that you're wondering how they even heard of it, but they heard about it through their church or the old-fashioned flyer, and so we're just trying to figure out how we can go on and reach them. And during the pandemic, when it first started, we created a webinar on how to use Zoom. So the seniors wouldn't be socially isolated. But then you're going, well, Mark, a lot of seniors don't even know how to use a phone. Right. So we'd send that video to like the senior center, and they would pull it up on a laptop or an iPad, take it to the rooms, and show
Right.
people how to use it so they can then interact with their family or you know, or with their civic groups or their church groups or whatever. Trying to get the seniors more tech savvy is a challenge, but it's something we can do.
And we have just a few minutes left, but I do want to ask you, what do you have a personal story of someone who you've helped, someone who RetireSafe has made a difference in their life, that you know you've seen it because of your efforts? Can you share that with us?
I'll tell you a story. And it's kind of sad, but there was a gentleman who called. He said, look, he says, I'm 86 years old. He said, my wife is 89. And then he started crying.
Oh,
He said, look, he said, I made a promise to her when I got married to her that I would take care of her for the rest of my life, and the rest of her life. But I can barely get out of bed myself. Then I have to go and help and get her out. I don't know what else to do. How can I fulfill my pledge of taking care of her when I can't barely take care of myself?
oh,
I said, well, sir, I said, what we can do is, I said, let me give you some resources that you can call. I said, by getting help, you're still fulfilling your pledge and your vow of helping your spouse for, you know, for better, for worse. Sometimes it's just, Valerie, it's just listening and then offering some advice or putting them in kind of resources. But, you know, it's just that way. He was just looking for approval, someone to say it's okay to get help.
and that's a sad
Do that
story,
for him.
but so touching.
So that's what we need to do. We need to listen to people. We need to say hi to people in the store. We may be their only person that ever says hi to them all day. I go out of my way to say hello to everybody. My wife and girls, my daughters go, do you have to say hello to everybody? Yes, I do. I may be that one person they say hi to the whole day. They need to know that they are important and somebody cares.
Well, that's great of you, and certainly your mission in life has always been to do that, I can tell.
Mhm.
What is your dream and your hope for RetireSafe? And for you, what would you like to accomplish still in RetireSafe? What hasn't been done yet? What are your big goals, and what's something that you can see being done in the next several months?
What I'd really like to see done and accomplished by RetireSafe, whether it's by me or my whoever comes in after me, is I want to make sure that we can allow seniors to age in place. Um, Again, you work so hard all your life, and as long as you're physically capable, yeah, you may be older and you cannot move as good as you used to, but you still want to stay in your home. If we can get momentum on the hill to give people the tax credits or whatever, and to get organizations to come into the communities and help senior proof some of these homes, to me, that would be a victory all in itself. There's a lot of seniors who want to live at home, but their home's falling apart because they don't have the money to put the needs and the money back into the repairs that need to be done, whether it's roof or plumbing or whatever. Heck, in the South, AC, you know, the simple things, or the heat in the Northeast. So if I can accomplish anything, I just want people to be able to say, hey, RetireSafe made it their mission to make sure that people like me can live in our homes a little bit longer and retire at home like we really wanted to.
Is there a phone number or an email or a website where people can reach RetireSafe?
They could always reach me directly, and that's at Mark, M-A-R-K, at retiresafe.org. All one word, retiresafe.org. And I'm not a big organization, so I answer all my emails. So when you send me an email, you're going to get an email back from me. And we're going to figure out how to help you. Luckily, I've been very fortunate. We are a small organization, but I've been very fortunate to have outstanding college interns every semester. And this semester hasn't been any different. I have 9 that have been phenomenal. These young people are so brilliant, Valerie. It's scary.
They are.
I mean, the things that they know and do, I mean, it just leaves you and I light years, you know, behind them. So luckily, we've been able to accomplish quite a bit, create a lot of educational videos, newsletters through the help of our interns.
And in the minute or two we have remaining, tell us what sets RetireSafe ahead from other organizations that are advocating for seniors.
Yes, we do not sell you anything. We don't sell insurance. We are more of a grassroots organization. You call me and say, Mark, or send me an email and go, Mark, I'm having this issue. Can you please look into it on the Hill? Talk to it, stand up for our rights, whether it's vaccinations, better clarification on things like that. We will do it. We are more of a grassroots, and we'll help you become an activist in your state or your city by giving you the tools that you need to learn how to reach out to your legislators in the state, federal level, local level. So that's what kind of separates us. Is we're not selling you programs, memberships, offering you discounts for, restaurants or things like that. We just can't. We're too small. But we do care about you personally, and we take each individual as an individual, and we want to help you the best we can.
I have to tell you, for the benefit of our listeners and our viewers, that your intern, Sabrina, did a great job in communicating with me and connected us together today. So she deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yes, she does. Like I said, that's one of the 9, and they just do phenomenal work. And it's just, it's a blessing to see that our world is going to be left to some of these brilliant, intelligent people. I feel so much better every time a semester ends. I feel better knowing that these are some smart people.
In addition to that, they also care about seniors. And we kind of have a saying that everybody has a senior.
That's right, they do.
These kids have grandparents, right? They have grandparents or they have parents.
Yes.
We have now a second level, I think, where we have the older parents, but now we have the adult children of aging parents, and we have our own issues. And then we have the children Sabrina's age, and some of them have children. So we're having a much additional level of generations, so to speak.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Thank you for your time today. It has been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I've learned so much from you, and I hope that our listeners and our viewers will reach out to you for their own needs and reach out to us. We'll have your contact information here with the program as it gets viewed next week.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Valerie. Thank you again for allowing me on your program. You have a great program. It reaches the people that it needs to reach, so thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, Mark.
Bye.